School of Nursing celebration for Nurses Week 2020. Today's event is being recorded, so those that could not attend, both our students and faculty, can watch at a later date. And I feel I should introduce myself. I saw a couple of names I didn't recognize, so everyone watching may not know who I am. I'm Dr. Marilyn Wideman, the Dean and Vice President of the School of Nursing. And today's activities are going to include a very timely presentation on resilience and self-care by our two very special guest speakers. And next, we're going to have a presentation of the DAISY Awards to pre-licensure faculty and students. And this is an event that usually takes place live at our campus locations, but of course, everything is closed for now. And we're going to end with a very special toast to all of us. So hopefully everyone saw the mocktail recipe on our Nurses Week website, but if not, no worries. We'll just toast with our coffee, tea, water, whatever we have by us. So before we get started, I want to say a few words. And as we all know, 2020 was designated as Year of the Nurse and Midwife by the World Health Organization, and this was to honor the 20th birth date of Florence Nightingale and also to recognize the vital role that nurses play in delivering health services across the globe. And I believe everyone participating today was very excited in 2019 when we learned about this honor and designation. But since this tribute was given, our attention has certainly shifted from Year of the Nurse to the health crisis at hand. And with this, the importance of the nursing role has never been as evident or clearly demonstrated to the public as what it is now in the middle of this pandemic. I think that everyone on this video conference agrees that nursing is a wonderful and extremely rewarding profession, but we also probably all agree that with that, it's also very demanding, it's very complex, and it's very, very challenging. And in particular, during these unprecedented times of over the last few months. But during this time, nurses have continued to demonstrate their compassion and their courage and their expertise in responding to the pandemic and also in the care that they're giving to their patients. We see this every day in the news, we read about it, but we have a lot of people probably on the call with us today that don't need to read about it because a lot of our faculty are out there on the front lines in practice. So they can tell us about this front and firsthand. During Nurses Week, it's always a time of celebration and congratulations and thanking each other. But this year in particular, I think that the thanks is much deeper and more appreciative than what it has been in the past. So for all of our faculty, a very, very special thank you this year during Nurses Week for your efforts during a very stressful time and continuing to prepare expert nursing workforce. And also, I know that you are all providing supports, regardless of the stresses you're going through yourself. You're providing supports and also flexibility for your students as needed, and that is very, very much appreciated. In addition, I had mentioned that we have a lot of our faculty that are out there on the front lines caring for patients. So an additional thank you to those faculty that continue to have an active nursing practice. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Melissa Birdie, our Associate Dean in the School of Nursing. She will introduce our speakers for us. Melissa?
Thank you, Dr. Wideman. And before we get started, we just would like to thank you for your wonderful leadership as our Dean and Vice President for the School of Nursing, and for kicking us all off today. So it's now my great honor to introduce to all of you our guest speakers for our 2020 Nurses Week presentation, celebrating, as Dr. Wideman mentioned, the Year of the Nurse. How incredibly fitting that theme is during our time of pandemic. Joining us today are Ann Farrell and Dr. Alice Siehoff. Ann Farrell, CEO and founder of Quantum Endeavors, is a master executive coach and previous corporate executive of a highly competitive Fortune 200 company. Dr. Alice Siehoff, CEO and founder of Siehoff Consulting, is a seasoned nurse leader.
Thank you, Melissa. I want to add, in honor to the audience, just a little piece that I leave off my bio. It feels almost too sacred to put in print, but it has everything to do as to why I'm so honored to be here with all of you as we kick off Nurses Day. Over 6 decades ago, that's as specific as I'll get, I was put up for adoption the moment I was born. And in that same moment, I was placed into the arms of a nurse. For the next several months, it was nurses who held me, hugged me, fed me, who gave me the human start to my life. And for that very reason, all of the work that I do pro bono is always, on some level, giving back those hugs, that love, to nurses and appreciation for all that you do. So a very personal thank you from me to each and every one of you for the incredible difference that you make. And yes, we're here to celebrate you, not just for the difference you make to individual personally, but for how you approach everything that you do with purpose, resilience, and compassion. I want to start with this quote: "Nothing can bring you peace but yourself." Dr. Wideman reminded us of the year that we're in the throes of here, where never before have we had to face a pandemic, global pandemic, and such a stressed economic economy. And through it, every day you get up and you do the work that you do. Every day we all get up and figure out who we want to be and how we want to show up to what the day presents. We have a choice. This chart talks about, who do I want to be during COVID-19? It's absolutely human and normal to have time that we spend in the fear zone. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of change. All of that, any of that, can really tip us into sort of staying inside of our comfort zone, feeling anxious, feeling discomfort with the uncertainty. And then we also step into the learning zone, right outside our comfort zone, with the place where we can keep ourselves safe, even though we're feeling all of these things, is the learning zone where we can decide what it is we want to learn for ourselves and what it is we want to help those that we're supporting learn for themselves. One step further, with a circled purpose line, is the growth zone. We are at choice for how much of our day, how much of our time, how much of the inspiration that we bring to others is actually fueled by our purpose to make a difference. And how we step into the day in purpose, as you do, in purpose to your students, in purpose as a faculty member, in purpose to the care that you're giving for those who are on the front lines. It's the purpose of making a difference, of being in service to others, that enables us to really truly show up heroically to the challenges of every day in a time when our humanness really needs to spend some time in the learning zone and actually even needs to spend some time in the comfort zone. So I want to normalize that we will float, all of us will float back and forth through these three zones, and that's absolutely normal. It's absolutely human. And what would be inhuman or inhumane would be to step over the feelings and hold ourselves accountable to have to be working on purpose and in the growth zone or in the learning zone always. It's just really being purposeful is about being present. And so we get to choose. And so we choose peace or create peace for ourselves, and we're the only one who can do it, by how we choose to be as we go through these times. And so when we talk and when we acknowledge the fact that we are caregivers, our purpose is about serving others, it would be remiss not to mention that often those whose profession, whose passion, whose purpose is to serve others, one of the things that we are the worst at is really serving ourselves. And so Alice and I are going to be spending our time with you, encouraging you to do the great self-care. And starting with the greatest self-care is having clarity about your purpose and choosing to honor it in each of our moments. So it's an inside job. Purpose isn't something we're going to do when we retire or something we're going to do someday. It's how have we been showing up? What's been most important to us in all of the moments of our life? If we look back, we can see the pattern of it with great clarity. Looking forward, sometimes it feels like an exercise we have to do, when the reality is it's been there all along. If we think about the purpose, the intention, the difference, the fact that the heroicness of people who are willing to put their own health and safety and care second to the people and the patients and the faculty and the students that they serve, it's really why it's important that we pay attention to how we're being and how we're taking care of ourselves while we do that work. This model is, I call it the Adherence to Coherence model. And what I really want to use it for is to just help us pay attention to how we are in our operating system at any given point in time. If we look at the stress of the situation that we're in, sometimes we can really be green, right? That we are not highly stressed. We're highly functioning. We're high on purpose. We're high on passion. We're high on presence because our environment is calm and peaceful and everything's aligned. That's sort of like externally driven peace and presence. But we have a choice. No matter what the external environment is, we can still choose to be high on purpose, high on passion, and high on presence, so that we keep our body in a low stress, coherence kind of balance from the center out. Important to know in today's environment, I keep talking about all of the emotions, and it's important not to step over them. I just want to share, I call it the soup. All of us are feeling a lot of things. What's in our soup might be different. I may have more maybe stress or fear or anxiety than someone else. Someone else may be carrying a lot of grief, a lot of sadness, a lot of just worried about the health of family members or students, and knowing where they are and spending their time each day. Whatever is in our soup, what we need to recognize is that it impacts our operating system. I don't know if any of you have ever had a refrigerator that has a hum, makes that background noise, and you know it's cooling, you know it's doing its job, but man, there's a hum going on that's absolutely audible. We have the same thing with our operating system. The data reflects that when under times, these certainly are unprecedented times, under times of environment stress, up to 30 to 40% of our capacity is actually focused on managing the soup, which means we have 60 to 70% of our capacity left to be highly functioning, to do our job, to show up for the people who need us, and to take care of the priorities that are on our plate. Because part of our capacity is just keeping us going, managing this soup in a way that we can function while carrying it. But it's a load. When we talk about the ways we can choose how to be with it, one thing I want to really stress is I'm not encouraging us to push it down or step over it. I'm really encouraging us to acknowledge it. And in the acknowledgement of what we're carrying from an emotional soup kind of perspective in these days of uncertainty, to say the least, and lots of change, it's what are the things that we can do for ourselves and the people who count on us to help be in a healthy adherence to what we need and what we can handle. One of the things that we can do for us first and then for others is to get really clear. If we're operating on 60 to 70% of capacity, and that range, by the way, it is dependent upon how much high stress we have had to function through in our past and in our history. So sometimes we've built up a resilience muscle because we've had to process through hard times before. If you notice people that you are leading or students that you have are having a difficult time being as productive or focusing as they used to, and you may see a divergence between some who seem like they're doing pretty well and others who aren't doing as well at all. It could be dependent upon how much stress and hardship they've had to be with in the past. How much have they built their resilience muscle already? My invitation is that we all really pay attention, knowing that we've got a lower capacity. We really pay attention to how we need to prioritize what we need to do for us and what we're asking other people to do for us as well. And use the thought of emergent and urgent. These are not the same days as you had a couple of months ago. You are now all carrying so much more, both consciously and subconsciously. And so just thinking about everything that's on your plate, everything that's on the list of things that you need to do from the perspective of, from an emergent perspective, it's now, and it's because of the changes we're going through now and the situation, how emergent is this need versus has it been a low-lying need for a long time? An example I'll use for that is, in my case, general leadership development right now would be in a low emergent quadrant. It's great work to do, but right now what leaders need is more specific than general leadership development. So high on emergent is resiliency training. So if I look at urgent, I've got a lot of list of things that I can do, and I'm going to shift to even personally, right? From a standpoint of we are all working from home, we're all living from home. Many of us have worked remotely for a while, but we have the list of things, our to-do list, that are things that we'd love to get done sometime. We have the same kind of assignments that we have in our work roles as well. There are things that are due, maybe it's status reports, maybe it's other sort of maintenance kind of work. Right now, it might not be urgent. And so whatever is not urgent and emergent, I invite you to think about how you might stop, pause, or defer. And the reason that's critical is you are operating at somewhere between 60 to 70% of your previous capacity. And there are essential things that need to happen now that weren't even on the radar before. And so the first priority in terms of taking care of you is to remember that one of the things that is essential, it's emergent and it's urgent, is great self-care. You need it now more than ever. It is not something that you put on the back burner. It's something you put on the front burner, and you decide what is not emergent, not urgent, that you can prioritize lower. So you're using the capacity that you have to ensure you're taking good care of you. It's essential. You are essential. Those of you who lead others, they are looking for your direction to help them understand what's urgent and emergent, and therefore what's essential, because you understanding that they have less capacity is a key part of empathetic leadership at this time. And so one way that we can really start paying more attention to where we are in perspective of purpose and great self-care is to ask ourselves these 5 questions each day. What is my purpose? What difference can I make today? How do I choose to show up today? Which of the zones do I choose to spend most of my time in? And I'm giving myself grace for when I may slip back to one of the others. What do I need to do to be my best today? The most powerful self-care question is knowing that it's a need, it's a must, so that you can fully show up. And sometimes number 4 is the hardest. What help do I need to ask for today? The beautiful thing that we are all learning through a global pandemic, we are not alone. Having the courage to ask for the help that you need is one of the greatest self-care acts you can do. And last, but certainly not least, every single day, what am I celebrating today? We're here to celebrate you big time on Nurses Day as you launch Nurses Week, but every single day, what are you celebrating for you? What difference have you made? And so here's my favorite part. I want you to think about one word, just choose one word to describe who you are as a leader today, who you've been as a leader this week. If you want to look at last week, what's the word you would use to describe how you've been showing up in your leadership for your students, for the people who look up to you, for the nurses in the field, for your patients? Who have you been? Go ahead and put your word in the chat box, please. Caring, supportive, empathy, understanding, engaged, faithful, another understanding, compassion, committed, strong, available, resilient, authentic, nurturing. There's a beautiful blend of strength and empathetic leadership showing up in here. As an advocate, as determined, empathetic, understanding, supportive, wonderful leadership words showing up. Strong, flexible, as a facilitator, available, predictable, supportive, beautiful, resourceful, listening. Teachable, beautiful. Yeah, keep putting your adjectives in terms of who you have been showing up as a leader. This is sort of, the way we carry ourselves, the way we put ourselves into the work every day. Vulnerable, flexible, beautiful words. Acknowledgement from Melissa in there. Here's my next question for you as you're finishing that up. I want you to choose just one word that describes what you're feeling today. Just one word. And go ahead and put that in the chat box too. Stressed, grateful, authentic, humbled. Borrowing a word, beautiful, overwhelmed, hopeful, humble, grateful. Please notice the mix that's showing up. Hopeful, worried, busy, proud. A lot of gratefuls, a lot of tireds, a lot of energized, grateful. And maybe being celebrated today, is put us in a different kind of feeling, and that's exactly one of the things that we want to make sure happens. But I also want to acknowledge that thank you for those soul tired. That's a deep tiredness, drained. Thank you for acknowledging that often we're operating with a gap between what it is we're feeling, the exhausted, the tired, even sometimes soul tired, and the way we're showing up as a leader. Strong, determined, there for others. It's in that gap that you really have to pay attention. That's the lack of coherence to how you're behaving and what you're actually feeling inside. And that's the gap that requires the attention and requires resilience skills. Melancholy, that's a beautiful word. When we have this gap between how we're showing up on purpose and how we're feeling inside, it's resilience that enables us to get through that and function. And the greater our resilience, the more we can do that without falling into the red zone with high stress and burnout. And so that's why resilience tools are so critical, and that's why it's my pleasure and honor to introduce you to Dr. Alice Siehoff, who's going to share with you some resilience tools right now. Now, if I turn the slides over to you as well.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So it is my pleasure to be here, and I'm just looking over. I got a little bit distracted, I must say, by the wonderful things that I'm seeing in the chat box, and I just appreciate all the love and caring in addition to all the honesty that I see in that chat box. So thank you all so very much. And it is my pleasure and my honor, because helping nurses with self-care and resilience has become my purpose later in my nursing career. So I'm delighted to be here. So when we're talking about resilience, what are we really talking about? There's many definitions, rebounding or springing back. Resilience described as a process, actually, where we adapt well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress. And it means bouncing back from difficult experiences. And we remain flexible in our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors when we're faced with life disruptions or extended periods of pressure. And we like to think that when we're resilient, when we have positive self-care habits, we emerge from difficulties stronger, wiser, and more able to be human. So I love that definition of resilience. And also some leadership authors describe resilience as energy management. So resilience is really also the ability to manage our energy. What then is self-care? We are nurses, and we create a lot of care plans for our patients. But what is self-care? And it's important to state up front that when we talk about self-care, we're talking about self-care that is unique to us. And a self-care plan for myself might look different than Ann's self-care plan. And everybody really needs to be on that journey for themselves. And when we're talking about self-care, we're talking about sets of skills that we acquire to take care of ourselves, but also it's healthy habits. And note the word habit. So self-care skills and even resilience building skills are actually habits. So we need to commit to ourselves. Healthy self-care habits really improve our quality of life and our resilience. And it really is the
the inside energy and the inside strength that helps us to show up as our best selves when we've taken good care of ourselves. And self-care is not selfish, but it helps us to live from a place of integrity. When we take care of ourselves, as Ann pointed out, how we show up, how we lead, how we be in the world is an inside job. And it stems from the ability to manage our energy and to take care of ourselves so that we can be better for ourselves and better for others. One of my favorite quotes, Rumi, who is a poet from the 13th century, said, "Never give from the depths of your well, but from your overflow." And that speaks to the fact that we need to have our own cups filled so that we can overflow and really give to others in a way that doesn't deplete us. Why is resilience important? Well, we hardly need this slide today, but especially today, there's increased complexity, increased pace of life, and expectations of life and work. And we all know that the demands on our time, the demands on our energy are not decreasing, but that they're really increasing. And I would say today at an all-time high. Resilience and self-care also allow us to reframe disappointments in order to facilitate learning and growth from disappointments and setbacks. So it speaks to that part of the very definition of resilience that talks about, okay, I'm emerging from this difficult time a different person. I'm more wiser. I've learned something through this. One of the questions that I always ask myself with disappointments is, what should I learn from this? What is here for me to grasp onto and learn? Also, we think about the increased capacity to self-regulate in response to situations. So when we're more resilient, we are actually better able to regulate our reactions. And we can come from a place standing in integrity, and we can respond to situations instead of react to them. And also, Ann spoke of purpose. When we're more resilient and we practice good self-care, it keeps us grounded in our core values and really what our purpose is, and we don't get distracted. We are able to tell what is really important today for us as leaders. What is it that we need to focus on? Think about a resilient person that you've met in your life. Just from the descriptions, and the characteristics that we've talked about so far. Who is that resilient person? Just write it in the chat box. And what are the characteristics that you've observed? What are the things that you've noticed in terms of resilience? It's important too. Resilience has become such an important part of who we are in healthcare that in 2017, the Institute for Healthcare Improvement actually created a framework for improving joy in the workplace, because we know that healthcare is really tough now more than ever. And IHI did 2 years of research and work in collaboration with experts, and they compiled literature and did workshops and interviews, and they really tried to figure out joy in the workplace for healthcare. And the outcome was the IHI and their partners identifying 9 key components for joy in the workplace. One of those key components, predictably, is resilience and wellness. They've put them together. So it's so important that it was put on this plan for Joy in the Workplace by IHI. And I'm seeing things coming, beautiful things coming through on the chat box again. Able to let things go if out of control, if they're out of my control. Interesting. Mother, being a person who is resilient. Flexibility is a characteristic of resilience. Strong, loving, forgiving. Resilient people are strong. They are loving and they are forgiving. My friend Vidi, grandmother, grounded in her faith. My BSN team. We collectively support each other with genuine compassion. I love that. Balanced, learns and carries on, mentorship, strength, steadiness, calm, intentional mentoring. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And those are all indeed things to really be grateful for. So you've already named a lot of these things in terms of really what are the most resilient people like. Well, they're optimistic. They're glass half full people most of the time. And they believe in themselves. They reframe failure to see what feedback would be helpful to them, or again, what they would have to learn. They're optimistic. They know that they have a right to be where they are. They're emotionally aware. And that means, as Ann said, we don't stuff our feelings. We actually are aware of our feelings. We can name them, and we can learn to live in a wide range of feelings without having them overtake us. We acknowledge them. We don't avoid them. We might even say them out loud to a trusted colleague, but we manage them, and we're able to deal with them and let them go. We can choose how to respond. We can choose how to show up emotionally, even in the face of strong feelings. And also, something that's key is that we are aware of things that deplete us, and we're aware of things that replenish us. And it's not that we can do away with every activity in our life that depletes us, but we can prepare for that. We know that it depletes us. We acknowledge that. And we can offset that sometimes by doing things that replenish us. We're adaptable. We're willing to be adaptable. We're willing to be flexible. And right now, wow, we are getting a lot of practice with this because we are in an environment that is very uncertain. And we are in a daily transition, probably a multiple times per day transition. We're changing things. We're having to adapt, and we're having to be tolerant. And that is extremely important. So we're willing to adapt. We've gotten a lot of practice with that. We're also problem solvers. So resilient people can step back from a situation, take a few deep breaths, not react, but respond. And we can actually focus, and we can work our way through problems. We manage our way through problems. So the problems don't manage us. We manage through the problems. Extremely important is social support. And that means that we are looking to others for help, and we're not afraid to ask for help. If we need help, we ask for it. And we have trusted colleagues that we know that we can go to if we need support and help. And also, sense of humor. We need to get out of our own heads sometimes. And laughter is truly the best medicine in terms of helping us to be more resilient. And laughter actually helps to decrease the cortisol or stress hormones in our brains and allows us to have the access to our higher function. So I want to talk a little bit about what is called by the HeartMath Institute as the domains of resilience. And domains of resilience just mean areas that we need to consider and make sure that we're cultivating when we're really working on cultivating self-care and resilience. And all of these domains are interrelated. One is not better than another. Some of us are more resilient in different domains than others. However, we can build resilience in all 4 of these domains. So first of all, the physical domain, and that alludes to our flexibility, our strength, our stamina, our endurance. Very important. And very important also is knowing how to listen to our bodies, knowing when we need to just take a break and sit down, and knowing when we are needing to pay a little more attention to our diet, our exercise. Sleep is very important. Hydration is very important. So all these things that we know keep our physical bodies healthy. And emotional is the second domain. And emotions, this is an area where we probably tend to waste a lot of energy. We waste a lot of energy being fearful of things that might happen, and a lot of times they don't, and that makes us fearful and really drains us emotionally. And emotions actually can overwhelm us. And the other thing that we know that's really important about emotions is that they are contagious. So if you read the chat box, wow, I mean, that's why I was feeling so good and getting distracted, because they were full of wonderful, positive types of emotions. And those emotions are contagious. So again, we want to pay attention to feelings, whether they're depleting feelings or renewing feelings, positive or negative. And we want to identify them, and just telling someone about them and calling them out actually helps to decrease their intensity, helps to decrease their hold over us. So it's important not to avoid them, and it's important not to dwell on them. And it's also important in the emotional domain to really ask yourself, okay, what can I control? What can't I control? What do I need to accept or work toward accepting? And what can I influence? The mental domain is our flexibility, our attention span, our ability to focus, our thinking. Is it clear? Are we tolerant of multiple points of view? Are we lifelong learners? Do we have reasoning power? Are we mindful? What cognitive resources do we have, and do we need to cultivate? And the last domain is spiritual. And spiritual domain refers to flexibility and tolerance related to other people's beliefs. Are we committed to our purpose and our values? What connects us? What inspires us? What gives us hope? What brings us a sense of meaning? How much do you play? That all speaks to our spiritual health. So those are just some ideas related to those domains. As I said, you absolutely can develop more resilience in any one of these domains. Some common resilience building strategies. The very first one that I start out with all the time is self-awareness. And self-awareness is critical, because we need to look inside ourselves and know where we are. Where are we today? Are we in a place where we're feeling drained? What can I do to help myself? What can I do to get myself in a better place? Sometimes I've resorted to just singing by myself, or imagining myself on my elliptical while I'm exercising. Well, I'm not exercising, I'm kind of dancing, because the exercise is draining me right now, and I'm aware of that. The other thing that I've actually done for myself is that I became aware about a week ago that I was starting the day off always reading the news and listening to the news. And with the amount of negative things in the news right now, it was very draining for me. So I literally had to put myself on a limit as to how much news I could watch because it was really bringing me down. And I was aware that that's what was doing it. So when you're self-aware, the two key questions to ask are, what is draining you? What is absolutely draining you? And what is renewing you? You know, what types of activities renew your energy and what types of things drain it? Connecting to your compassion means understanding yourself, and it includes self-compassion, but it includes connecting to common humanity and our earth and caring for the earth, caring for others, just doing random acts of kindness for other people. Mindfulness and gratitude, we're going to talk a little bit more about those in a minute, but mindfulness and gratitude are two practices that really help to cultivate resilience. Mindfulness is focus, and gratitude is really cultivating a practice of writing down 3 things every day that you're grateful for, and really deliberately focusing on the yes things, the things that you're grateful for, instead of some of the junk going on. Relationship management just means you nurture healthy relationships with family, friends, colleagues. You accept that help from other people. You move away from people who drain you or people who are toxic, and you really look to connect with positive people. Now we're going to talk a little bit about mindfulness and then gratitude. When we talk about mindfulness, you're going to have the opportunity to practice mindfulness in a few minutes, but mindfulness is just defined as focus with no judgment. You're just accepting what is without judging in this moment. And it helps us to bring calm and focus. It helps us to see meaning in the moment. And it helps us to practice, as I said, mindfulness and focus every day. Recent research in mindfulness has also proven that it helps to decrease stress. It helps us to facilitate job performance. It certainly facilitates resilience, and it helps us to optimize deliberate efforts that we make on our resilience and self-care. When we want to think about mindfulness, we don't want you to think it's another thing to do. Mindfulness practices are things that we can embed into everyday life. And that just means a simple allowing time to disconnect and recharge. Do you take a break from the day? Even if it's 5 minutes, just take a break. Practice monotasking instead of multitasking all the time. Deliberately slowing down and focusing. I have to do that a lot these days. Slow down, take some deep breaths, and find other mindfulness practices. Another thing I've started doing is, as I'm walking to meetings, as I'm walking out of the grocery store, I'm slowing down my pace, and I'm actually reaching to feel the earth under my feet so that I'm mindful of walking. I'm mindful of what I'm doing all the time. So finding ways to embed that into your day. And gratitude, very important. Being grateful for what we have today. It helps us to develop optimism and also enhances self-awareness. It's a positive emotion. It's regenerative. It helps us to build resilience. And again, it helps us to say yes to anything that is positive in our life, especially in the environment today. We need those small positive things. And I've started personally focusing on the little things. You know, yes, I'd be grateful for big things, like if COVID-19 went away, but I'm just going to be grateful for the fact that it's not impacting me or my family members at this point in time. So grateful for small things and paying attention to what is working and what is not wrong. That is gratitude. So now I want to give you a little bit of an opportunity to practice mindfulness. And this is one of the techniques that I've learned is called quick coherence technique. It's a technique that can be used in the moment. It's a technique that can help us shift from a negative thing to a more positive attitude. And it's also something that we can use in the moment. So we can basically use it anytime. I've used this technique actually on the Eisenhower Expressway going to downtown Chicago. So it can be used at any time. So it's a very simple two-step process. And I want to give you the opportunity now to just make sure that you're in a comfortable place, comfortable position in your chair. And relax your shoulders, relax your neck muscles. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. And I'd invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that so you can focus on this technique. And just take some deep breaths in and a deep breath out. Control your breathing in and blow your breath out. And try to have your breath, your inspiration and exhalation match. Put your attention as you're breathing on the area around your heart. Sometimes I just literally put my hand on my heart as if I am doing the pledge. Just put your hand on your heart and breathe in deeply and out. And as you continue your breaths, make a sincere attempt to re-experience a regenerative feeling like appreciation or someone that you care about in your life. Bring that feeling back as you continue your heart-focused breathing. Experience that regenerative feeling. And now slowly, deliberately, bring yourself back in a kind way. Again, it's important as nurses, we often work with patients on their care plans. But what is your plan? What is your commitment for self-care? Thank you, Ann.
Yeah, thank you. And so, as Alice, go ahead and type your commitment. Sorry, there's an echo on me. Go ahead and type your commitment to your self-care in the chat. What is the one thing you're committed to do? What you'll see is that Alice and I provided you with another tool that you can use ongoing. And it's from the great work of Kristen Neff. It talks about how we be and what we do in terms of self-compassion. There's a chart in the handout that you can use to really anchor some of that work. That's yours to take away from the materials. Go ahead and keep chatting about your self-commitment. Self-compassion could be one. Here's even a poll where you can share your intention here or in the chat, either one. And as we head into celebration, I'm going to invite you to keep thinking and walk away from today with a commitment for your great self-care, resilience, and compassion. But I want to give you a moment to share your intention of celebration for the people that you have the opportunity to work with and support. So there's a second question that's going to come up, and it is, what do you want to say to your colleagues here today to celebrate them during Nurses Week? What do you want to say to each other? Go ahead and type those answers in here, knowing that we're going to go right from here to a celebration together. Celebrate each other now. And as you type,
much, Ann, and
Alice and I are going to exit and turn it back over to Melissa.
This has been incredible, phenomenal tools and time spent with both of you and with our entire team focused on self-care and resilience. I'm overwhelmed with amazement and just a great hour spent with everybody. That will help us not only through the current adversity that we're facing, but as you said, tools that we can keep in our back pocket for every day, each and every day moving forward. So now it is my great pleasure. Feel free to our esteemed faculty and colleagues to express your thoughts in the chat box for Ann and Dr. Siehoff and their gift of time with us. And while we're doing that, I'd like to welcome and introduce our academic chair for pre-licensure nursing, Tonya Holian, to the platform. So Tonya, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa, and thank you, Ann and Alice. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. So, oopsies. Hope no one saw that real fast. I wanted just to give a little bit of history regarding the Daisy Foundation. We're celebrating that today as well. So the Daisy Foundation was created by Mark and Bonnie Barnes to honor their son, Patrick Barnes, a young man with a terminal illness, and the care he received from his nurses that touched his family. His family wanted a way to honor extraordinary nurses. This honor is given to those nurses who provide exceptional care and are nominated by their patients and peers. We have the honor of doing this for our exceptional nursing faculty and those students who have demonstrated these qualities. Each winner will receive a serpentine stone sculpture hand-carved by artists in the Sana tribe in Zimbabwe. This is symbolic and meaningful due to the profound respect the Shona people pay to their traditional healers. They are considered treasures, and this is how we feel about our nurses, faculty, and students. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce the winners of the 2020 Daisy Faculty and Daisy in Training Awards. So our faculty winners are Kathy Black from Cedar Rapids, Aaron Belair from Maine, Tom Hoover from Lincoln, Morgan Butler from Des Moines. Thank you. You all have earned this award. I'm so very proud of each and every one of you and your accomplishments and what you do every single day for our students and for each other. And then our student awards are Chelsea McMahon from Cedar Rapids, Celia DeMoss from Maine, Sunny Gonzalez from Lincoln, and Stephanie Oliver from Des Moines. Congratulations to each of the student winners. I believe most of them have received their statues already. If you have not, you will receive that shortly. So congratulations again, well earned. And finally, I'd like to have a toast. So I'd like to close this wonderful hour by raising a toast to all of you today. thank you for all you do each and every day. You all are extraordinary. It is our honor to work alongside you, learn from you, grow with you, and celebrate with you. May the best of your past be the worst of your future. Cheers.